What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my DraftKings MMA picks for UFC Fight Island 7. Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. And yeah, it's been a decent-sized break here, a couple-week break. Really looking forward to get back into it. I don't know about you guys, but Saturday without fights, it just seems so weird. So I'm glad to be back, glad to be breaking it down here for you guys. As always, if you can leave a like on this video, helps out a ton. Subscribe if you have not yet. Again, helps out a ton. Trying to reach that 10,000 subscriber milestone. To be a huge milestone. Hopefully get there in the near future. And just want to point out that now is a fantastic time to sign up on the Patreon. Have over 250 members on there. We'll love to hit that 300 mark by the end of the month, hopefully. And with that, of course, you get the model that you see on all my other videos. You get my targets, my projections, my rankings, my lineup percentages, access to Discord, and I am adding something new for 2021. I'm going to be doing a Patreon-only live stream on Saturday on fight day, going over like final thoughts, going over lineup percentages, all that stuff, and answering any final questions you guys have, and kind of go over like last-minute thoughts and stuff. So that's going to be something new added just to add more value on the Patreon. The link will be in the description below. I put a lot of time and effort into this, and all my content will be free, but if you do want more content, extra content, there's always an option, and really affordable options as well. So with that said, we're going to get into it here, get into the video, and we have some new DraftKings scoring. So very excited for this, and I do think there needed to be some changes, and there are indeed some changes. So just some examples like when fighters take the fight to the mat and they land a lot of ground and pound. There was one of these fights. It was John Phillips versus Park, I believe. And Park landed like 300 strikes, something like that. And they gave him like 20 significant strikes, something like that. So that's going to be fixed here. So just want to go over the new things here for the scoring. Some important things to note. So significant strikes went from half a point, 0.5, to now 0.2. And strikes in general went to 0.2. So say if they're not significant strikes, they're going to still get credited for it with only 0.2. So I really do like that, because it's hard to decipher, what's a significant strike, what's not a significant strike. You're going to be getting points for it regardless. Takedown is the same 5 points. Reversal and sweep is the same 5 points. They did take out the advance, which I kind of like the advances, but again, it's hard to decipher what's an advance and what's not an advance, at least from their perspective, because they did miss a ton of them. They did add something new. It's going to be control time, so you get 0.03 points per second for control time. So that means if we have a wrestler, say like Ricky Simone's going to be fighting on next card, he's going to be getting takedowns, he's going to be getting a lot of control time, something you really want to target. Because, yeah, that definitely can add up if you get, like, say, 5 to 10 minutes of control time, which we do see quite a bit. Knockdown is the same, 10 points. First round win, same 90 points. Second round, 70 points. Third round win, 45 points. And decision win is going to be 30 points there. And they did add something new, which I kind of think is kind of cool here. I'll move my video here. So the quick win bonus is going to be a first round win in 60 seconds or less, the first minute there, and you get extra 25 points. So you get the 25 plus the first round win. So yeah, something to think about there. So I do like the changes. I do think there needed to be changes because there was it was just a big mess with the significant strikes and all that. So just some new scoring changes to talk about there, and we will go back to that in the future if need be. But yeah, pretty simple there. They added control time, took away the advances, and they added the strikes there, and of course the quick win, which is pretty interesting there. So as always, getting into the fight doesn't go to decision lines, and I have a feeling a lot of these fights are going to go to decision. We don't have really fights that are going to that aren't really projected to end inside the distance here. We have a couple, but Imavov-Haas minus 195 fight doesn't go to decision. I do think this finishes one way or another. I think it's either going to be Haas early or Imavov late, and I really do like that fight doesn't go to decision line. I think it could even be wider than that. I think it should honestly be like minus 300. So it definitely is a fight I do want to target. Whether it's going to be Haas getting a first round finish or Imavov taking over, because Haas does slow down after that first round. Todorovic and Soriano minus 165 fight doesn't go to decision. So both guys are undefeated. Obviously, both guys have never been knocked out. Both guys have some really good power, especially on the Soriano side. Todorovic has some power, but more has a ton of volume as well. I could see it finishing. So something you want to look at there. Di Chirico versus Buckley minus 155 fight doesn't go to decision. Di Chirico's really tough. He's never been knocked out. We did see him dropped in his last fight. Buckley, of course, we all know he's a really good finisher. A couple good finishes in his last couple fights against Wright and Ipakitsagane. Minus 155, fight doesn't go to decision. I could see it finishing. I'm more so leaning towards it going to decision, but would not be shocked if Buckley kept the train rolling here, or if DiCirico could knock out Buckley as well. I mean, Buckley's been knocked out twice in his career. I wouldn't say he's chinny or nothing, but we did see Holland knock him down a couple times. Just something to note there. And then Philippe and Tafa, this is a heavyweight fight, so of course we do like targeting these heavyweight fights because they typically finish, but Tafa is someone who... He's a tough guy. He was knocked out against Jorgen De Castro, but ran in, got clipped, and UFC debut. Big mistake there. And Philippe is someone who doesn't really have that one-punch knockout power. Watching tape on him, I didn't really see a fight where he just like stops somebody on the feet with one punch. It's either like a ground-and-pound victory. I saw one fight where he punched somebody in the eye and he totally quit. And Philippe is really tough as well. He has a really good chin. He does absorb shots, which is interesting, but... I do think this is a fight you should target because it is a heavyweight fight, but I would not be shocked if it does go to decision, such as all Philippe's fights in the UFC so far. All right, so getting into the core plays, and Max Holloway at 8,900, and it's really hard to ignore the upside, and we can argue that he doesn't really deserve this $8,900 price tag because according to the odds, it should be a lot closer to like an 8,500, 7,700 for Kattar, but it's hard to ignore the upside from Max Holloway. I mean, he has so many significant strikes upside, and 8,900. I mean, if he wins, he's going to absolutely destroy that price tag there. He's going to destroy value. He's going to get easily over 100 points. He averages over 6.5 significant strikes per minute, and Calvin Kattar is very hittable. I mean, Calvin Kattar absorbs 5.66 significant strikes per minute, only lands 5.01. I do like Max Holloway to win. I think it's a huge step up for Calvin Kattar, going from guys like Dan Ige, Zabit, Jeremy Stevens to Max Holloway. I mean, it's a huge step up. You got to admit that. So, although I do think the line, at least on DraftKings, should be closer. The price tag should be closer. I think if Max Holloway wins, he's going to absolutely smash value. I will be 100% owned on this fight. I think whoever wins is going to easily get over 100 points. I think there's going to be a lot of volume on both sides. I think you stack it in cash. If you don't stack it in cash, that's not smart whatsoever. It's an easy stack in cash for me. Even in single entries, I think you can stack it in cash just because of their prices there. But yeah, give me Max Holloway at 8,900. Not going all in or nothing, but I will be split. I want to say like 55-45 in favor of Max, or like a 60-40, because we'll talk about him in a little bit, but Calvin Kattar is way too cheap. Next, we have Austin Lingo at 9,000. So I really don't love this 9K range. We have Ramazan Ameev at 9,200. Sarah Cheesecake Morris at 9,100, Santiago Ponzinibbio at 9,300, which is not bad. Joaquin Buckley at 9,400, which we'll talk about. But I like Austin Lingo out of all of them. I mean, he has a ton of upside here, 9,000. He is a finisher, and he hits like an absolute truck. And Kilburn has been finished in all of his losses. So the thing is, Kilburn has been finished by submission. He's never been knocked out, but I do see somebody getting knocked out here. I will be playing both sides of this fight, though, because both guys are absolute killers. Both guys have good finishing ability. Kilburn, 75% finish rate. Lingo, 72% finish rate. I think they're going to stand and bang until one man falls. So, and Lingo's UFC debut against Yusuf Zalal. Zalal did a really good job of just running away, staying away from the power shots of Lingo. Kilburn's just going to invite it. He's going to invite it and stand and bang. So I think this fight's very important to own here, both sides, but the lean is definitely going to be Lingo. Tom Breeze, 8,200. So the thing about Tom Breeze is a lot of his fights he's either been getting a finish or getting finished in his past couple fights. 91% finish rate for Breeze. Akhmedov has been submitted twice. He has been knocked out twice, so he's been finished in 4 of his 5 losses. 5 losses in 26 fights there for Akhmedov. So Akhmedov definitely can be finished. He definitely can slow down. His gas tank's very questionable. Breeze is going to have a huge striking advantage. He's going to have a gas tank advantage. The only thing I'm worried about is Akhmedov taking him down, and yes, he could take him down, but Breeze on the mat, he's pretty good. I believe he's a black belt, throws up submissions off the back, is able to get reversal sweeps. I think he'll be fine on the mat, so I like Breeze a lot at 8,200. The thing we always worry about with Breeze is those anxiety issues. I mean, he's known for pulling out of fights, all that, but as of late, haven't really seen that much for the past couple of years, so I think he's fine now. Went out there in his last fight, got a knockout win against KB Bueller in the first round, very low owned. I really targeted that play, and I'm going to be targeting him again here because, like I said, a lot of his fights as of late have been finishing. Now, this one's really interesting. So, Nasruddin Imavov, 7,400. So this is a fight I want to target both sides. This fight, in my opinion, has best chance of finishing inside the distance, and according to the odds, it definitely agrees with me there. But Nasruddin Imavov, 77% finish rate. He does hit very hard. The thing with Phil Haas, if he is not able to get Imavov out of there in the first round, he slows down a ton, and he slows down because he is putting 100%, 110% of effort into trying to get that finish in the first round. Phil Haas is a good wrestler. I think if Haas wants to come in here and get takedowns on Imavov, he definitely can, but that's only going to drain his gas tank. So Phil Haas has never went to decision. Phil Haas has never went to decision ever. I mean, he's finished 100% of his wins, and he's been knocked out once, he's been submitted once, never lost by decision, never won by decision. So this is definitely a fight I do want to target a ton. Phil Haas being 8,800, I definitely like him. And Imavov 7,400. If he can weather that early storm, I do think he takes over late and probably gets a second round or third round finish there, or maybe even wins a decision. But at 7,400, survive that first round, get the win. I do think there's a ton of upside for Imavov. I will be close to 100% owned on this fight. I really will, because I can see either guy scoring very well. GPP plays, which is our tournament plays, our plays we want to be playing in our large field tournaments, 150 max, stuff like that, 20 max. I think Carlos Condit's a very interesting option. So Carlos Condit and Matt Brown both have crazy finish rates here. 90% for Condit, 92% for Matt Brown, and Matt Brown has been finished in 13 of his 17 losses. I mean, Matt Brown's kind of on the chinny side at this point, very weak to the body, and Carlos Condit does hit very hard. He has a 48% finish rate. So I do like Condit here at 8,700. He looked decent in his last fight against Court McKee. He was able to knock down Court McKee, didn't knock him out, but Court McKee is a very, very tough guy. I think Court's never been knocked out, or maybe he's been knocked out once or something like that, but he's a tough guy nonetheless. And Matt Brown is not. I mean, I do think Matt Brown's durability is definitely not there. 39 years old, about to be 40. I like Condit here. It's 8,700. Hopefully he's not too high owned here. Maybe it could be kind of a sneaky play, but I think is a very good play here. I think this fight finishes one way or another. The thing about Condit is he has like a 43% takedown defense, so if Matt Brown wants to come out here and wrestle, he can and take him down. But at that point, Matt Brown's playing with fire because Brown has been submitted 10 times. Yep, you heard that right, 10 times. So I think there's multiple paths to where Condit can either get a knockout or submission here at 8,700. Dusko Todorovic, 8,500 going against Peniel Soriano. And yeah, I do like this fight quite a bit. Both guys are undefeated. Both guys have really good chins. What I like about Dusko is the amount of volume he throws. He throws a crazy amount of volume. What I don't like is his striking defense isn't that great. I mean, he backs up, he leaves his chin up in the air, so I would not be shocked if Soriano actually knocked him out, but I do think Dusko probably wins just by having the better cardio here, the better output, and as long as he does not get clipped or knocked out, which maybe he does, I think he does put up a pretty solid score here, so I think Dusko's fine at 8,500. I do think he's going to be very, very high on. A lot of people are high on this guy, especially after his last fight. He put up a massive score against Daquan Townsend, which is, in my opinion, not impressive at all, but he also beat Michel Pereira, which a lot of people are looking into that a little bit. I think he's a little bit overrated, but I do think he probably wins the fight just based off of volume, having the better cardio, and there are some question marks with Soriano coming off of injuries and all that. So I think Dusko at 8,500, I do think he pays out that price tag one way or another if he does get the win. Phil Haas touched on a little bit. First round or bust, in my opinion. And at that point, like, that's something we want to target in DraftKings is a first round finish. That's huge, especially, last fight against Jacob Malkoun went out there in the first 60 seconds. That would have got that first round win bonus if it was a thing at the time. So he definitely has that ability to go out there in the first 60 seconds, get a finish. He definitely has the ability to go out there in the first 5 minutes to get a finish, that first round win there. So I think Phil Haas is definitely something you want to target in tournaments. Would not go there in cash because, I don't know, it's hard to trust the gas tank of Haas, but man, he's such a good play in tournaments. I will have a ton of this fight. I'll have a ton of Haas. I'll have a ton of Imavov, probably near 100%, because I do think this fight's going to finish one way or another, whether it is Haas early or Imavov late. So Joaquin Buckley, this is interesting here. I think that the line should be a lot closer. So this line is wider than it was against Jordan Wright. And as you guys know, I was all over Buckley against Jordan Wright, and the line closed like Buckley like minus 210, which is just silly. Almost doubled down. I probably should have doubled down on it, but yeah, this fight's going to be a lot tougher than Jordan Wright. I mean, say what you want about DiCirico, but the dude's very tough. He's never been knocked out. He was knocked down in his last fight, but tough nonetheless. And DiCirico has really good wrestling as well, very strong. And I don't know, I feel like this fight could play out closer than people think, but Buckley's been on such a roll. He does have a ton of power. He has not went to decision yet in the UFC in his 3 fights. So it's definitely something you do want to target, but man, I feel like it could be close, and I feel like he's going to be very, very high owned. So I don't know how much I'm going to have a Buckley yet, but I think he's something to note there. I also think Ponzinibbio is another play you could look at, 9,300. Getting into our live dogs, Penel Soriano, 7,700. So like I said, Dusko does leave his chin up in the air. His striking defense is very questionable, and Soriano hits like an absolute truck. He could very well clip Dusko. Like I said, I do think he's a little bit overrated, beating Townsend, beating Michel Pereira, guys like that. I'm not all that impressed with the guy, but yeah, Soriano has really good wrestling. I mean, he can go out here and get takedowns. The problem with Soriano is going to be the gas tank. That's why I'm not picking him to win, is the gas tank. The lack of volume. Not lack of volume. He throws good volume, but Dusko just throws so much more volume than him. So he does need a knockout to win at that point. I think it's interesting to note. 7,700, if he does get that knockout, obviously going to be optimal there. So I think Soriano is not a bad play at 7,700. Calvin Kattar, 7,300. And this price is just off. I think it should be like a Max Holloway, 8,500. Calvin Kattar, 7,700, something like that. It just does not match up with the odds. Max Holloway's only minus 150. So yeah, I'm gonna have a ton of Calvin Kattar, although I do think Max wins. But yeah, maybe Kattar. If Kattar wins, I don't know. Does he have to knock out Max Holloway to win? I don't know. It's hard to see him outpointing Holloway for 25 minutes. It really is, but he does have a lot of power. The problem is Max has never been knocked out in 27 fights. He's never been knocked down in 27 fights. He's been hurt before, but still, I mean, Max Holloway has a unbelievable chin, something we've never seen before. So can Kattar knock him out? I'm not so sure he can. Can he outpoint him for 25 minutes? I'm not so sure he can, but I feel like it could play out semi-close, and I feel like both guys are going to be throwing a ton of volume. I feel like you have to stack it in cash 100%. Not stacking cash would be just silly there. So, yeah, Kattar at 7,300, I'm going to have a decent amount. Like I said, I'm thinking Holloway 60-40 in favor of Holloway, or a 55-45, but it's really hard to ignore the Kattar price of 7,300. Jacob Kilburn, 7,200 is very interesting here. Going against Austin Lingo, and Kilburn has been submitted in all 3 of his losses. I don't see Austin Lingo come out here and try to get a submission. I think he could if the fight does hit the mat. I don't think Lingo's going to come out here and try to force the fight to the ground. I think they're just going to stand and bang until one man falls. And Kilburn has shown one-punch knockout power, and both guys never been knocked out. But I do think that's going to change here. Kilburn at 7,200. I mean, I think is a decent live dog here. I really do. I think that Austin Lingo could be a little bit overrated. He did not look all that great in his UFC debut. Of course, that was against Yusuf Zalal, but I don't know. I think he's a fine option to look at 7,200 in a fight that they're just going to stand and bang until one man falls. Maybe he can come out on top because he does have the power to do so. Justin Tafa, 7,600. I don't love it. But if he does win, it's going to be by a knockout. It's going to be early. Carlos Felipe actually is pretty hittable. He does rely on his chin a lot. Do you want to do that against a guy like Justin Tafa? Probably not. Can you do that against a guy like Sergey Spivak? Yeah, you can slide. You can slide with doing that. Can you do it against a guy in Yorgan De Castro? No, but he was able to do so. He was able to absorb shots of De Castro and stay standing there. So he does have a really good chin, Felipe, but Tafa could knock him out. I mean, Tafa has a ton of power, but I don't love this play all that much. But it is something to note that if he does win, it's going to be in the first round, and it's going to be by knockout. So at that point, we had to target it a little bit. Wouldn't go there in cash whatsoever. Getting into our pump plays, and there's actually a couple I really don't mind here, starting with David Zawada at 7,000. So I think this price is actually off. I think Zawada is actually a pretty solid fighter. It's just how scrappy he is, has a ton of heart, very, very tough. He's very dangerous as well, finished the majority of his fights, has finished 89% of his fights. And when he gets taken down, which I do think he's going to get taken down a lot here, taken down at will, he's very dangerous off his back. We saw in his last fight against a Nurmagomedov. Not the good Nurmagomedov, but a Nurmagomedov. Nonetheless, he was able to get a triangle submission from bottom. So something to note there. Amiv, just very low volume. He's going to be throwing the lower volume in this fight. Not dangerous at all. 50% finish rate, which is the second worst on the card behind Vanessa Melo. And just low volume overall. I mean, he's going to get takedowns. He's going to get some top control, but he needs to stay safe out of submissions. Can Zawada catch him in something? Maybe. And on the feet, Amiv has been knocked out before. We have seen Zawada have pretty solid power. Zawada has a 65% knockout rate, so would not be shocked if Zawada pulled the upset here. The line is actually moving closer, so yeah, I think Amiv's a little bit overrated in my opinion, and Zawada is a very dangerous fighter, but Amiv probably wins, by decision, a boring decision, but something to note that Zawada is very, very dangerous and live at a really cheap price of $7,000. Next, we have Alessio Di Chirico, 6,800. Never been knocked out. He got knocked down in his last fight, but still tough nonetheless. And he's like one of the most boring fighters you'd ever see. I think he's on like a 3-fight losing streak. Very, very low volume. Decent wrestling, decent power, and we have seen Buckley knocked out twice before in his career, once by Kevin Holland, once earlier in his career. He was knocked down a couple times against Kevin Holland, and yeah, I don't know. I just like the durability of Di Chirico. I don't love the volume. I think Joaquin Buckley probably outpoints him for 15 minutes or even knocks him out, but I think Di Chirico is actually kind of live here. I think this line should be a lot closer, compared to like the Buckley and Wright line, which is just way too close. I think this should be a little bit closer than that because Di Chirico would probably destroy Jordan Wright, in my opinion, because Jordan Wright is not great. So, yeah, I think Di Chirico in some way is live. Maybe durability issues for Buckley, but it's so hard to ignore how much of a role Buckley has been on. But, yeah, give me Di Chirico as like a pump play. Not going to have much, but I do think it's something to note there. And then fades. There's a pretty clear one here. It's going to be Ramazan Ameev here. I talked about it a little bit, but he just does not score all that well, averaging only 61 DraftKings points against his win against Stolze, 82 DraftKings points. His loss against Rocco Martin, 20 DraftKings points, 71 DraftKings points, 73 DraftKings points, 60 DraftKings points. So his most out of like 5 or 6 UFC fights, he scored 82. So I don't see him paying it off whatsoever. Very low volume. Maybe he gets a couple takedowns, but still, maybe some control time is something we could think about. Maybe he does get some control time. So maybe he does do a little bit better, but still is going to be low volume there at 9,200. Don't really love that. And yeah, guys, that's about it. Make sure you check out the description in the link below and check out the Patreon link. You get full access to my model, my premium projections, my GPP lineup percentages, my DraftKings article, which comes out Friday night. Probably going to be out a little bit earlier for this week. I'm a little bit ahead on stuff. My Patreon-only Fight Day live stream, which is going to be new for this year, and then access to Discord and plenty more there. So lots of different options. There's a betting and DraftKings options, which is pretty popular. There's an all sports options. I do other sports as well, PGA, NASCAR, NFL, stuff like that. Or if you just want to do MMA, there's an option for that. So lots of great options, very affordable options, and it does help me out a lot. And so very excited for this card, very excited for Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar, and ready to win some money and get back at it. So that's about it. Good luck, guys, and see you soon. Oh, by the way, we'll live stream Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. As always, see you then.